What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And of course, I'm from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below, or directly at WiseTake.com if you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out, projections, cheat sheets, core plays. We do a pre-lock live stream Monday through Friday for members. Starting 45 minutes prior to lock, taking you up to lock to make sure you have as much news as possible. And day passes start at $2.50 for NBA content. Go check it out. That being said, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Don't miss out on any of the free content we put out. And we do a lot of free content. Monday through Friday, we do this early look. We do it for baseball. We do free shows for football. So don't miss out. Notifications bell on. And if you could hit the like button, the likes really go a long way. It'll really help us out, allow us to continue to do what we do, put out free content as often as we do. As well as comments and sharing, man. Sharing's a really big thing we could use. It could really help us and allow us to continue to grow. So please, if you could share the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is that you use, whatever your platform of choice is, if you could share the show, we appreciate it. And again, leave the comments, man. I've been trying to interact with you as much as I can. Those of you who leave comments and throughout the day, I always check it and I try to respond, whether it's constructive criticism, whether it's general feedback on the slate, your thoughts on the slate. I want to hear it. So drop some comments. All right. So we got a 7-game slate on a Monday. I believe it's a holiday, right? So we're going to go ahead and jump into this, starting game by game as always with Chicago and Indiana. We got FanDuel and DraftKings both pulled up. Levine and Sabonis both are the most expensive on each prospective site from this team. I think this could be a pretty good spot for Malcolm Brogdon. He's the one that stands out. Like, Levine is fine. I think Indiana's defense has struggled a little bit more as of late, or just in general. They've been struggling a little bit more. It's a great spot for Sabonis. I guess I should get that out the way. It's the price itself that didn't really stand out, right? Like, this is how much he should be in a spot like this. But he's fine for tournaments. Brogdon stand out a little bit. I think it's a good matchup. He's a little overpriced. It's funny, you look at DraftKings and you feel like he's a little overpriced at 7.7, but on FanDuel at 7.8, you don't really feel like he's that overpriced. Needless to say, we'll continue looking. I think that Miles Turner, man, I don't know what the hell's gotten into him. He's really always like a FanDuel only. Okay, he had a good game against Atlanta. He always strikes me as more of a better FanDuel play. And this game against Memphis is exactly why. 5 blocks. He went for 50 FanDuel points. I'm sure he still did well. Ooh, I'm clicking on Thaddeus Young and shit. I'm sure he still did well that day. 51. So, yeah, maybe it's not that big a deal. You get the double-double bonuses and all that. But Turner's fine. He had a couple bad games, but he's okay. We know Chicago's terrible against bigs. Wendell Carter Jr. is a game-time decision, though. Even with him, they're still terrible against bigs. That does have an impact, however, on Thaddeus Young, who happens to be in a revenge spot against one of his former teams, the Pacers. TJ McConnell's been playing extremely well, and he's playing big minutes. This is 2 straight games where he's had like pretty big scores. Now he's at the point where you're looking for that Atlanta score, really for tournaments at 5.9 on FanDuel and 5.2 on DraftKings. Well, 5.2 is a little bit more within reach. I think 5.2 is a decent price. I mean, if they're going to continue to play him like that, which they very well could against a guard-heavy Chicago team, then I guess we're going to have to consider him, right? And he's playing extremely well. Again, 5.9 on FanDuel, that'll keep his ownership low for sure, but on DraftKings at 5.2, a little bit more appealing. Kobe White's another one that seems site-specific. I play him a lot more on FanDuel because his price is consistently low over there. On DraftKings, they don't really bring him below the 6K mark, probably because of all the threes he takes, but he's not really hitting a ton of them exactly. He's been very consistent. Matchup against Brogdon, I'm not crazy about. We still got Markkanen out, though, so there's still some usage to go around. He's been a little disappointed to me this year, Kobe White. I'm not going to lie. I expected a lot of big things. He had some big upside last year off the bench, and as a starter, he just really hasn't been able to get into a rhythm, it seems like, which is strange. Lamb's minutes were down against Atlanta, but for the most part, they've been in that range where at least he's playable, right? Maybe he's not like a slam dunk, but he's playable. And I think at this point we're moving on, right? I don't see anything that's worth noting too hard. This next game's interesting. Houston, Washington. Looks like Westbrook is currently questionable. Let's see what the tag says. Okay, because they played today, so it's a back-to-back. So we'll see what happens with Russell Westbrook. I don't think he's played a back-to-back yet, but I know they've talked about it. They've talked about doing it, so maybe they will. Bradley Beal against Boston. Yeah, okay, Bradley Beal did well against Boston. I figured he would. But anyway, we'll see. Bradley Beal could be in the cash game conversation, especially on DraftKings at 8,900. At 9,800 on FanDuel, a little bit expensive. If Westbrook plays, he's obviously in play in a revenge spot as well. But again, we're going to have to see what they decide to do. Houston is in a really good spot, but Washington's the same. Houston's been terrible. They've been really bad. John Wall in a revenge spot in Washington. This seems like a pretty good tournament spot for John Wall, right? Like narrative driven completely, because when you look at what he's been doing, he's like giving you cash game type scores. But narrative driven. John Wall in Washington wanted to do that dirty to that former. I could see it. And no Oladipo, that helps usage-wise, right? Eric Gordon coming off of an awesome game. He was 8 for 14. You don't get that a lot. And he was 1 for 7 from 3. So he managed to take some pretty good shots. I guess the three-pointers just weren't falling. But he still went 8 for 14. 6 assists, a block and a steal. I think 6'4" and 6'2" is a little ambitious, but you know what? If there was a spot to do it, it could be this one, a very pace-up spot. No Oladipo. I do think it's going to be the John Wall show personally when it comes to the guard front. And then I guess we have to talk about Boogie Cousins. Boogie on Saturday hurt a lot of my teams, and it was kind of disastrous, right? I mean, he was against Miami, he went for 38. If he does that at 6'5" against New York, a team that has been terrible against centers, we're in a pretty good spot, right, with as much as I had of him. Unfortunately, they decided to play him 22 minutes because their coach is a complete moron and apparently doesn't bother to look at any type of scouting reports or anything to know what teams are terrible against centers. In 22 minutes, Boogie got a double-double with ease. This is another spot that's a smash fest for the center. But again, with his coach, I'm a little reluctant. No Christian Wood, you would think there's no choice, but no, he finds a way to try to go small. And Washington's the same where he may be able to go small if he wants to against. But Boogie is too cheap for the upside. He should smash in this spot, no doubt. Wall and Boogie off top are like from this game. It's like those are the main two I'm looking at. Bertans is fine. Alex Len is okay. I mean, you get Alex Len against Boogie. Come on, man. Caveman Robin Lopez against Boogie. It just it don't feel right. Hachimura is okay for tournaments, though. He himself has not been all that impressive. I will say, even in a spot where we had Beal out with Westbrook. You thought that would have set up well for him. Just didn't really mesh at all. Bertan's really cheap on FanDuel. Sterling Brown's going to get some minutes. I don't mind him where he's cheap. He's 4,300 on FanDuel, 42 on DraftKings. You're not going to get a ceiling every time, and the ceiling is not that high, but when the price is low enough, you can consider it. Davis Bertans is getting minutes, just hasn't really put it together. On DraftKings, he's more effective because of the three-pointers, but he's 4.7, so a little more risky. 4.1 on FanDuel is real cheap, so we can probably get some of that. We know Ish Smith is out as well, so we'll probably see some other guard play, especially if Westbrook is out. We're going to move it over, but this game should be pretty popular, I would think. John Wall revenge. He's going to be the cover boy. It's already settled. Atlanta and New York. Pace-up spot for the New York Knicks. Trae Young, I think, is in a decent spot. We've seen guards do well, and really we've seen centers do well. Now, I think that the big question as far as the Hawks go is, do we want Capella or Collins? You could technically play both, but Capella's minutes have not gone past 30 in quite a while. He's got that plantar fasciitis, and it seems to really be holding him back to a degree. It is a really good spot for centers. The Knicks have been terrible against centers. They're also missing Mitch Robinson to make things even worse. But John Collins has been getting a pretty good amount of center time, and he's the one getting big minutes in general. So part of me thinks maybe we just go to John Collins. Not to mention, Randall's never been a good defender. It seems like he's been improved this year. The whole Knicks team defensively under Tibbs have improved a little bit, but I think that Collins is where I lean initially. Speaking of Julius Randle, I'm good with him. Pace up spot against Atlanta. Should get a lot of opportunities, right? FanDuel 8-6, DraftKings 8-7. I think he's within reach. And the biggest thing about Randle is that minutes, man. Those minutes are just massive. Now, against Houston, Washington on the back-to-back, they were somewhat held in check. But you can see when he's got some rest, Tibbs plays his guys. And this year hasn't even been the case so much for the Knicks. But he himself has been getting big minutes all season. It's funny with the guard situation. Elfrid Payton's minutes are down as expected, but he's actually been playing better. Derrick Rose, 4,900 on DraftKings, 5-1 on FanDuel. Against Washington, look what he did against Washington. 36 and 19 minutes, FanDuel points. Craziness. It does seem like R.J. Barrett's minutes have gotten lost in the shuffle. It seems like Rose's arrival has really affected him the most as far as like significant changes. They have this whole second unit thing that he just doesn't fit the mold for. Emmanuel Quickly's been awesome. The Knicks are just all tournament plays, and what we like about Tibbs the whole time is that he likes to play his guys big minutes. That has not been the case exactly this year, and I think it's because there's not a ton of separation between all these guards. He don't know who he likes the most, and I think he's just gonna play by ear. What he knows is he likes Randle. He don't have a lot of players like Randle, so that's why Randle's the one getting monster minutes. Nerlens Noel played 32 minutes against Houston. That's acceptable. I think 4,800 on FanDuel is fine, especially on a site where you get rewarded more for blocks and steals, which is one of his specialties. Noel is 44 on DraftKings. I'm cool with that too. It's not as good. We don't expect Noel to be super aggressive, right? Only took 6 shots in 32 minutes, 6 boards, had 4 fouls. Maybe he would have gotten more. We know he likes Taj, but I don't think any of us expect Taj to play any significant minutes, right? Mitch Robinson out for a while, but yeah, Noel's fine. Don't mind Gallo, who finally had a good game. Reddish and Burks and all these guys are fine. None of them I don't think are worth really locking in on at the moment, but they're fine. Philly, Utah. Joel Embiid is currently a game time decision. He's questionable, right? If he plays, I don't think it's the greatest spot. It's not a bad spot. You can always get some exposure to Embiid because he's fucking Embiid. He's been great. Simmons is okay. I think that the Utah side is probably one I'm a little bit more interested, as you would expect. Teams don't typically play that great in Utah. Utah's on a roll right now. So on the Philly side, they're all fine. Ben Simmons, who I like his price on DraftKings, by the way, 84. Don't mind Rudy Gobert, to be honest with you. Just the way things have shaken up. We know Mike Conley is out. Donovan Mitchell, also what I would consider to be cash game playable. I don't necessarily think he's the cash game shooting guard at the moment. Maybe he will be. A little too early for me to declare that. We're just doing a game-by-game breakdown. Don't put all the pressure on me just yet. Just kidding. But I think it's playable. With Conley out, the usage has been massive. He's had a couple bad games in a row. But I do attribute a lot of that to variance and blowouts. Utah's been beating the shit out of everybody. Clarkson, he's 5-5 on FanDuel. They finally raised him a little bit. I'll continue to play Clarkson, though, at these prices. But no Conley. As long as Conley, we prefer Mitchell out. But as long as at least Conley's out, I'll continue to play Clarkson because I think he's going to get close to 30 minutes, especially in a close game. And against Philly, I think he could do some dirty. So I'll continue to play Clarkson. On FanDuel, I'll continue to play Ingles. How much is Clarkson on? I think Clarkson a little more expensive on DraftKings. I'll still play him just for the record, just for it to be said. Ingles as well, getting 30 minutes or so. His usage typically goes up. He's starting 5-7 on DraftKings. A little ambitious, I'll admit. But FanDuel at 4,900, much easier to kind of stomach there. But I will continue to play him. You know who else has played well is Royce O'Neal. He's got a low floor. That's the issue with Royce. But he has shown, especially on FanDuel, with the block and steal upside, to have some sort of upside, but more of a FanDuel thing personally. So definitely digging more of the Utah side, and it's the same culprits really. I don't mind the other pieces. I don't mind the Philly pieces, but we just talked about some really good games. We have a couple of them, a couple other games that I think could be really good as well. So I'm sticking with Clarkson as the mainstay from the game. Cleveland and Golden State. Draymond Green currently a game time decision. He's probable. Okay, it's good to know. So the question is, Cleveland's a really bad team. The question is, can Cleveland, Cleveland keep this game close. And I don't think Golden State is that good right now personally, but they're not terrible either. Steph Curry, I'm cool with if you think it's a competitive game, or really even if you're going to one off someone, I could see one off of Steph Curry just because it could be one of them situations where he just goes nuts in 3 quarters, and that's why Golden State were to blow them out. But in a competitive game, it's fine. I'm cool with Curry in tournaments. I think they're coming off of a game where they got their ass beat right against Brooklyn. Yeah. I'm good with Draymond in tournaments and game stack situations. Again, you kind of want the game to be close. He relies on a lot of peripherals, so you need him on the court. Doesn't score a ton. Jared Allen, we'll see what the situation is with Drummond. I would think that Drummond were to play. It was a back-to-back. I'm assuming that's why he sat. This is a smash spot for Drummond. Now, the minutes have been down, but they have gotten blown out a lot lately. And the last close game they were in, Drummond played big minutes. So I'm under the assumption that Drummond's going to play some pretty good minutes here. So right out the gate, I talked about Boogie, who was in the 6s on the sites. Now we got Drummond, who is 7-6 on DraftKings, still too cheap for him, but 6-5 on FanDuel. It's kind of crazy. So so far, I'm liking the paydown centers. Paydown, not even more mid-tier centers. Boogie and Drummond so far are the centers that I'm kind of digging on both sides. But again, he's been terrible. The thing is that Golden State has no center. They got Draymond playing center right now. Sexton, I'm cool with. I don't think Golden State's defense has kind of been up to par, right? Oubre's been playing really well, for the record. Let's talk about him for a second. He's played really well. He's been super consistent, taking a lot of shots, but grabbing a lot of rebounds. And this could be a spot. I mean, if Drummond's in there, Drummond's probably going to get like 20 rebounds here. But Oubre's been good. He has. Okay with Garland. I'm okay with the rest. I don't love too much, but Drummond is like the main standout to me here. What to do with him, etc., etc. We got Miami and the Clippers. So Kawhi Leonard, we know, sat out the night before on Sunday, right? Lower leg bruise. We'll have to see. I would be surprised if he did sit once again. And PG is a game time decision. He's missing some time with his toe injury. We'll see if he comes back or not. All that information is going to really depend on how we treat the Clippers. Guys like Lou Williams, even Patrick Beverley and Ibaka and some of these other players. So we kind of need that news to really make any definitive statements. If one is in, one is out, I don't mind. Like if George is out and Kawhi's in, I don't mind Kawhi. Though I do expect Jimmy Buckets to grab him. And vice versa for Buckets, I kind of expect Kawhi to be on Jimmy Butler. So we'll have to see what they do. I think Bam is kind of interesting, especially on FanDuel. I always like Bam more on FanDuel because he's power forward, so I'm not wasting a center spot. But in this situation, Bam is only 8,300, which I think is fairly cheap. It's one of the cheaper prices. So I do like Bam on both sides, but again, more so on FanDuel. I'm cool with Buckets. He's been really good. They got blown out against Utah. I don't think he got as much run. Yeah, he didn't get as much run. Still did really well, man. He's been awesome. Cash game playable for sure. He's just been great. So I got no arguments against Jimmy Buckets. The rest I'm just kind of okay with. I don't really see anything that stands out to me too much. I mean, Pat Bev and Reggie are both really cheap at this point on FanDuel. I guess on DraftKings too, but there's a reason for that, right? But if we were to get Kawhi and PG out like Sunday, then we maybe have some more room. But Pat Bev not really playing a whole ton, it looks like, at the moment. Last game we've got... I got to unclick these mother suckers. Last game we got Brooklyn, Sacramento. So we know Kevin Durant's going to miss some time. This should be a fast-paced game. Harden's price on FanDuel has come down to 10-6. He's 10-7 on DraftKings. I mean, Harden looks awesome. Interestingly enough, they made Harden point guard only on DraftKings. He's still shooting guard on FanDuel, but he's point guard only on DraftKings. Kyrie, they've given shooting guard eligibility, where as FanDuel left it the same. So right out the gate, really good spot for both Harden and Kyrie. This is a spot where I wouldn't mind playing them both together. That being said, the issue is it's a really good spot for the Kings as well. Even in a blowout, we saw a lot of the Golden State guys like Oubre were still able to get there. Teams that have been playing against, this is like a nut game right here. I mean, I think we just, as of right now, yeah, I'll grab some pieces of Washington. I'll grab me some Drummond and all that. But this is, I mean, how do we not just stack up this game at night and just as we're falling asleep, fighting it on the East Coast, just see the money rolling up, right? So I like Harden. I like Kyrie. The only problem is I also really like De'Aaron Fox. This is a back-to-back for the Kings. I should note that. But I do like De'Aaron Fox. I like Buddy Hield. I even like Barnes. I like them all. Tyrese Halliburton. And they're not cheap, especially on FanDuel. They're not cheap. We'll have to see what happens with Mr. Marvin Bagley. But right out the gate, man, if the Kings can make this game interesting, Brooklyn is a very good team, man. But we've seen teams, they played teams that they should have blown out, that they haven't. They did blow out Golden State. But I think there's at least a chance that Sacramento keeps this competitive. And if that's the case, there should be a ton of fantasy upside. So finding ways to play these guys, I think, is going to be my starting strategy. Though realistically, I mean, I think it should be pretty popular, right? If that's where I'm going first, maybe that's where others are going first too. But this seems like the game of the night to me, right? Mix in some John Wall Revenge, some Boogie Cousins, some Clarkson, some what do you call them? Drummond, and then just come here. That's what it's looking like. But we'll see. Come check it out. I got a core plays article I'm writing on WiseTake.com, a little bit closer to lock, and then of course we have the pre-lock show, myself and Paulie, where we'll kind of make up our minds and see what kind of news breaks out. Hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate you. Leave some comments. Share the show as always. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation. Good luck.